So, pwede ba may mag-record ng ating class? Kasi hindi nagre-record. Sige, may OBS ka, pwede pa record muna. Sige, thank you. Pasend na lang po sa Google Meet, ay sa G Drive ko. Thank you. I will turn off my video class so that we can save from A to C class. Mag-merge tayo. Kasi para isahan din yung pag-ano ko. Okay lang ba? Pero mga early morning tayo palagi. Early morning tayo.
Okay lang po.
Okay. Sige class, para isahan din. Thank you. So I'll start. So, good morning class. So I know this is the very early pa, but you know, kailangan nating mag-aral. Okay? So what is statistics class? So statistics is the field of study concerned with the collection, analysis, interpretation of uncertain data. Kadalasan, ngayon, makikita mo yung importansya ng ating statistics. Why? Because this coming election, makikita nyo madaming survey. So that data came from the population and everything. Okay, so this is the science of planning studies and experiments. We also obtain data and then organize it and summarize it and present it, as well as you analyze and interpret those data. Then we draw a conclusion based on them. As well as it is concerned with the methods of collection, for the collection, analysis, and interpretation. So andito siya class ha. Collection, analysis, and interpretation. So, tatlong bagay lang yun sa statistics. Naman talaga yun kasi sa statistics, we need data. Okay, so we have objectively evaluated in terms of the probability statement. So, papasok dito si probability. Okay. Also, first, the terminologies we need to understand values. Okay? So, alam nyo na to, di ba? Sa high school pa lang, alam na natin na ang variable ay yan yung pinakaunang bagay dapat nating alam. Di ba? Ano yung variable mo? So, if we have the variable, we have also the data. So, the data is are the values, or itinatawag dito yung measurements or observation that the variables can assume. So, ito yung collection, or this is the collections of observation such as measurements, gender, survey responses. So, alam naman natin na ang single data is called a datum. Tama ba? So, kadalasan natin hindi siya nakikita. Kadalasan kasi data nga. We gather data. Okay? Balikan ko lang, variables and data. So, data can be used in different ways. Wherein, sabi ko nga, the body of knowledge called statistics is sometimes divided into two main areas depending on how the data are used. So, ano to class? The two main areas, actually, that is the inferential and descriptive statistics. So, nung high school tayo, yung high school kayo or in your engineering mathematics in the modern world, alam ko tinuro na to. Tama ba ako, class? Am I right?
Opo, ma'am.
Okay. In your mathematics in the modern world, so alam nyo na to, class. So this is pahapyaw lang. Okay. So what is the difference between the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. So in descriptive statistics, from the word itself, describe, so ulitin ko lang, that is also a collection of organization, summarization, presentation of data, wherein the statistician tries to describe a situation and presenting the data in some meaningful form, such as charts, graphs, or tables. So, papasok dito, class, yung charts natin, graphs natin, tables natin. So, descriptive statistics. What is the difference between the descriptive and the inferential? So, in inferential class, kadalasan dito, we make inferences from the sample to populations. Okay? So, nagko-consist na tayo dito ng generalization from sample to populations. So ito, from sample to population, after that, you perform estimations. Okay, mag-estimate na tayo. And also, we have the so-called hypothesis testing. So we will focus more on the inferential statistics here in our subject. Okay? So, papasok dito yung null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis. Okay? So, maganda to class kasi gagamitin natin siya in finding the z-test, the t-test, the chi-square, using this null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis. Okay? So, inferential statistics uses probability. Okay? Wherein probability is the chance of an event occurring. So, papasok nito, na-infuse na natin yung idea ng statistics as well as ng probability. Paano natin? What is the probability? Papasok dito yung the continuous and the joint probability statistics. Papasok din dito yung conditional probability, wherein after that, we have to make an hypothesis testing and infer. Ano nga ba talaga after having that probability? Okay? So, inferential statistics class, we will focus more on here. This way. So, balikan ko, sabi ko, the main important part of the inferential statistics is the hypothesis testing, or this is an area, one of the area of inferential statistics. Bakit? Kasi doon siya, decision-making process for evaluating claims. So, what is your claims? Halimbawa, the null hypothesis. There is no significant difference between the student who study and play Mobile Legends. While the alternative hypothesis natin is there is a significant difference between the students who study and play ML, like that class. So, papasok tayo dyan. So, hypothesis testing. Okay? So, alam natin, we evaluate ano yung claim mo. Na pwede naman pala nga mag-aral habang naglalaro ng ML, or hindi pwede, dapat mag-aral lang pagpauli ang ML, like that class. So, you have your claim here in hypothesis testing. Okay? So, so hindi palaging population yung kinukuha natin. We how do you call this? From the population, nag-update tayo ng samples. Okay? So, ano nga bang pinagkaiba ng class ng population to sample? Okay? Ang population class is a complete collection. Ibig sabihin, lahat of all measurement or data that are being considered. So, consist of all subjects. So, human or otherwise that are being studied. So, here in the Philippines, may tinatawag tayong census. That is the collection of data from every member of the population. So, di ba sa bahay-bahay class, may pumupunta sa inyo. If you notice, so meron tayong tinatawag na census. So, kino-collect class lahat ng data sa bahay nyo, di ba? Ano yung trabaho ng mga mama? Ilan kayo nakatira dito? Like that. So, that is a collection of data from every member of the population. So, ginagawa po yan dito sa atin. Okay? And the population, from the population, we have now the sub-collection of that. so-called sample. Sub-collection of members selected from the population. Okay? That is a group of subjects selected from a population. So, hindi kasi class, when it comes to experiments or studies, hindi natin kayang ubusin yung oras natin sa pagkuha ng data. Ang dami kung uubusin mo yan. All mechanical engineers in the Philippines, so that is the population. Lahat kukunin mo. But when it comes to inferential statistics, papasok tayo dito sa sample. Okay? So, saan lang? Dito lang kaya sa yung mga nakatira dito sa Albay or yung mga andito lang sa Legazpi. Parang ganun lang, sub-collection. Okay? So, variables. So, sabi ko kanina, we have the variables, the data. So, variables can be classified as qualitative or quantitative variables. Okay? Actually, class, today we don't have many computations, as we all know. So, this is just an information review. Okay? Mga topics that were discussed to you by the different professors or your school teachers, I mean, high school teachers. Okay? So what is the difference between these two? The variables that can be classified as quantitative or qualitative. Okay? So we all know that data, we have the qualitative and the quantitative. Wherein the quantitative is also considered or can be identified as the discrete and the continuous variable. Okay? Yung data natin. Ano nga ba pinagkaiba niya? So the qualitative variables is the variable that can placed into distinct categories according to some characteristic or attribute. So, mga example nito kasi is the religious preferences, the geographic locations. So, ito yung qualitative. It is more on the distinct categories according to some attributes. So, dyan mo yung class malalaman. Okay? How about the quantitative variables? In the quantitative variables class, the data are numerical and it can be also be ordered or ranked. Paano yun? Halimbawa, age is numerical. So, pataas ng pataas class, di ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hanggang mag 100 yung age mo. Okay, also the height. Bakit bumababa ba class yung height niyo? As well as yung weight. Okay? Pwede. If you lose weight, pwede yun class. Pero numerical pa rin siya eh. In the body temperatures. Okay? So, ngayon, madami tayo nasasawa na ata kayo sa thermal scanner. So, everyday nasa scan ilan yung temperature niyo. So, this is also numerical. Okay. Sabi ko nga, yung quantitative variables natin, ulitin ko ito yung data natin. We have the qualitative and the quantitative. So, pwede din maklasify yung quantitative natin as discrete and continuous. Okay? In the quantitative variables, we're in two groups. We have the discrete and the continuous. Ano pinagkaiba niya yung class? When it comes to the discrete variables, so we assume that values can be counted. So, nabibilang mo siya sa kamay mo. Halimbawa, the number of children in a family. So, bilang na bilang. Ilan lang kayo sa family nyo? We have 5 or 6 or 7. Or mag-isa ka lang. Sabi nga, the number of students in a classroom. So, today we have 75. No, minus 2. 73. 73 tayong andito. Kasama ko. 74 tayo andito sa Google Classroom ko. So, bilang na bilang siya. So, that is considered as a data which falls under the discrete variables. And the number of calls received by a switchboard operator each day for a month. So, another example here is, yan ba yung nag-chat sa'yo ngayon sa messenger mo? So, bilang mo yan. Okay? So, that is called discrete variables. We're in a continuous variables. Okay? So, can assume an infinite number of values in any interval between any two specific values. They are obtained by measuring They often include fractions and decimals. So, ang pinagkaiba lang class ng continuous sa discrete, in a discrete variables, di ba literal na whole number siya. If babalikan natin sa mathematics natin, okay? Whole number siya. While in the continuous, papasok mo dito yung fractions and the decimals. Yun lang tatandaan nyo class dito ha. Mga fractions na the class. Pinaka-example nito is yung temperature natin. So, 36.6. So, that falls under this continuous variable. So, may fraction na and decimals. So, repeating decimal natin. Okay? So, this is an example of the variables. Okay? Excuse me. So, kung kanina, we have the quantitative variable and the qualitative variable. Meron naman tayong classification of variables by how they are categorized, counted, or measured. So, gumagamit tayo ng different measurement scales. Okay, the nominal, the ordinal, the interval, and the ratio. Okay, so level of measurement to class. This is the 4 common types of level of measurement. The nominal level of measurement, the ordinal level of measurement, the interval level of measurement, the ratio level of measurement. So, madami to class. I mean, this is just 4 basic level of measurement wherein makukuha natin dito yung okay, so we have the level of measurement. The first one is the nominal level of measurement. Ano nga ba ang nominal level of measurement? So, eto class, may basic example ako dito dun sa ating module if you read the module. Okay, it classifies data into mutually exclusive. So when we say mutually exclusive, that is a non-overlapping data. Okay, exhausting categories in which no order or ranking can be imposed on the data. Anong mga basic example dito? So it consists of names, labels, categories only. Okay? The data cannot be arranged in an ordering scheme such as low to high. So, ang nominal class nagfo-focus lang siya sa names, labels, and categories. Ano ang mga example nito? We have the classifying survey subjects to male or female. Okay. So, madali to class. Lalong-lalo sa gender and development. And when we have a survey, kadalasan tinatanong na yung gender natin or the sex, male or female. So, classifying residents according to zip code. So, halimbawa, yung mga zip codes yung class, 4,500 Legazpi, 4,501 Daraga. Tama ba ako? Mga taga-Daraga, what is your zip code? 4501? Class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So, madaming zip code. So, the difference sa tabako, if you are in tabako, iba din yung zip code mo. So, this is a type of a variable or a data wherein nagfo-fall siya sa nominal level of measurement. Okay? Political party. What is your political party? Oh, ano yung political party nyo today? Kakamping ka ba? Si Lenny? Ano ba? Ano yung mga political party ngayon? Hindi ko alam yung mga political party, but I know who will run as the president of the Philippines. So, saan ka ba nagpo-fall doon? So, may mga data tayo doon. Okay? The religion. So, Christianity, Islam, ano pa? Iglesia ni Cristo, born again. So, this is an example of the nominal level of measurement, while the marital status, the single, the married, the divorced, or the widow, and separated, is also an example of this level of measurement. Okay? So this is the first level. The second is the ordinal level of measurement. Okay, so ordinal level of measurement class, we classify the data according to its rank. Okay, so precise difference between the ranks do not exist. Okay, so it can be arranged in some order. Okay, so anong kadalasan ng example nito? The student evaluation. So, hindi to class yung sinasabing faculty evaluation nyo. So, dito, we have, di ba? 1 to 5 ba yung class, yung evaluation sa teacher? So, that is rank. Okay. So, guest speakers might be ranked as superior, average, or poor. Ito na yung sinasabi ko. And the ordinal data, letter grade, so pwede din yun class. The A, B, C, D, and the E, F. So, bakit F to? Okay? So, balikan ko yung nominal categories. So, may mga distinct categories while the ordinal level class is a data wherein the data can be ranked. Okay? Pwede mo din siyang ma-arrange in order. While the interval level of measurement, so dito na class, balikan ko lang Dito, nominal categories tayo, names, labels, while the ordinal level of measurement, we have the numbers or the data can be ranked or in somewhat placed in order. Here, class, in the interval and the ratio level of measurement. Okay. Anong pinagkaiba niya, class? So, it ranks data in precise difference between units. Of measurement do exist. Okay? So, nangyayari dito yung papasok na dito class yung difference between units of measurement. Okay? Sabi ko nga, like the ordinal level with the additional property that the difference between any two data values is meaningful. However, the data at this level do not have a natural zero starting point. Okay. Anong pinagkaiba niya ng interval and ratio level? Eto class, the ratio level possesses all the characteristics of interval measurement. Okay, i-highlight ko lang dito yung word na there exists a true zero. So, in addition, true ratios exist when the same variable is measured on two different members of the population. Okay, the interval level with the additional property that there is also a natural zero starting point. Okay, where zero indicates that none of the quantity is present. For the values at this level, differences and ratios are both meaningful. So, what is the example for this? We use to measure height, the weight, the area, and the number of phone calls received. So, pinagkaiba lang na niyan class ng ratio level. I mean, sa interval level, so kung kanina sa interval, we ranks the data and we have the precise difference between units of measurement do exist. Ano yung example dito sa interval class? Excuse me. So, sa interval level class, IQ tests do measure people who have no intelligence. Hindi naman ibig sabihin class na ang IQ dito class pwedeng ipasok kasi there is no meaningful zero here. So, pag nilagay ba natin yung IQ natin zero, wala nang intelligence. So, no. Meron po ang IQ class nagpo-fall dito kasi wala naman sinabi na ang zero. Pag zero na, you have no intelligence. Okay? So, wala. Hindi nagpo-fall dito yung IQ kasi wala naman talagang zero ang IQ. Di ba, class? So, IQ tests do measure people who have no intelligence. Okay? So, temperature. So, 0 degree Fahrenheit. does not mean no hit at all. Okay. Sa ratio level class, naman class, ito yung mga zero class. Diba? Meron talaga na zero, meron ba zero weight? Excuse me. The area zero. Diba? Pag nagka-compute tayo. Okay? So, okay. That is the level of measurement. So, balikan na lang natin. Ang ratio level possesses all the characteristics of the ordinal, the nominal, the ordinal, the interval. Kasi may true zero na nag-exist sa kanya. While sa interval level, the data can be ranked and also the precise difference between the two units. So, makikita mo dito. So, may fraction dito. And the ordinal level, that can be ranked. So, nararank siya class. And the nominal level, it falls under the names, the characteristics, and the labels. Okay? So, sabi ko nga, if we have the sample, if we have the population and the sample kanina, we have also the parameter in the statistic. Okay? Statistic. So, ang parameter class, the difference between these two is a numerical measure describing some characters of the population. When the parameter, it refers to the population, while the statistic is a numerical measure describing some characteristics of the sample. So, parameter is to population, statistic is to sample. Okay. So, what is the 4 basic methods of sampling? Sampling data na tayo, has. Kadalasan makahanap po to sa researchers, sa surveys. So, nag-undergo tayo niyan. So, what is the difference? This is the data collection natin. So, surveying records, direct observation of situation. So, surveys can be done by using a variety of methods. Okay? So, ito class yung 4 basic sampling natin. The first one is the random sampling, wherein the random samples are selected by using chance methods or random numbers. So, the population, so one such method is to number each subject in the population. Then, halimbawa, lahat tayo, may population natin, mechanical engineering. So, halimbawa, mag-place tayo ng number cards in a bowl. Okay? So, mix them together thoroughly. So, select as many cards as needed. So, na-select lang tayo. So, the subject whose numbers are selected constitute to the sample. Okay, yun na yun class na nakuha natin. Halimbawa, 100 people. Nagkaya tayo ng 1 to 100 na number. So, nabunot natin is ilan class? So, nabunot natin si number 35, number 46, mga ganyan. So, sample yun class. Since it is difficult to mix the cards thoroughly, there is a chance of obtaining a biased sample. So, sa random sampling class, kadalasan biased yung sampling natin. Okay? So, pwede naman class, we can generate the random sampling by using the computer or a calculator. So, random lang. And input mo lang. So, pwede yan. So, in the systematic, compared to the random sampling, in the systematic sampling, so researchers obtain systematic samples by numbering each subject of the population and then selecting every kit or every K subject, a fifth subject, every sixth subject, like that. So suppose we have 2,000 subjects in the populations. And ang kailangan natin na sample is 50. So divide mo lang siya, automatically 2,000 divided by 50. So we have 40. So ibig sabihin, yung pang 40th subject natin, yun yung sample natin. Okay? Kasi 50 yung kailangan natin. Okay? Next we have the stratified sampling. Kanina, we just divide the population divided by the data needed. So, yun yung kukunin natin. While in the stratified sampling, we obtain the stratified samples or so-called strata. Okay? We divide the population into groups. Yung sinasabi kong strata, according to some characteristics that is important to the study. Then after that, sampling from each group, we have now samples within the data or within the strata should be randomly selected. So, paano natin siya masiselect? And, excuse me. So, halimbawa, si president natin, si Adrian. Okay. He wanted to learn how the students feel about online class. So, furthermore, Adrian wishes to see the opinions of the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. So, mag-select si president from each group to use that in the sample. Okay? So, ibig sabihin si pres kukuha ng 3 sa first year, 5 sa first year, 5 sa second year, 5 din sa third year, and 5 din sa fourth year. So, so dinivide natin yung population according to their year. Diba? So, stratified sampling ang tawag mo. While the cluster sampling, so, anong pinagkaiba ng cluster sampling sa stratified? So, researchers also use cluster samples. Ano tong cluster samples na to? Here, the population is divided into groups called clusters. Okay? Minsan, ang basic example nito is geographical area or schools in large school district. So, ano nga ba? So, the researcher randomly selects some of these clusters and use all members of the selected clusters as the subject of the samples. For example, halimbawa, nag-survey ulit si Adrian. Kasi si Adrian yung researcher natin. Halimbawa, si class president, si pres natin. Okay? Ang sinisurvey niya is, so, ilan ba yung nakatira sa city? Okay? Ay, for example, si engineer na lang. Si engineer, nag-survey siya mga apartment sa Legazpi City. So, meron tayong 10 apartment sa city. Then, napili niya, the engineer can select at randomly 2 buildings from the 10 buildings. So, and i-interview niya lahat ng andun sa building. So, cluster sampling is used when the population is large or when it involves subjects residing in a large geographical area. So, if you wanted to study involving another example naman class para mas maintindihan nyo. You wanted to study involving the patients in the hospital in Albay, halimbawa sa BRTTH class. It would be, in Albay, kasi madami na tayong hospital sa Albay, hindi lang BRT. So, it would be very costly and time-consuming if we will try to obtain the random sample of patients since madami naman class na yan, fully booked na yung mga ospital. So, pupunta lang tayo. So, mag-select na lang tayo ng ospital, lalong-lalo na kung sa COVID-19 yung class. So, we just pinpoint or a few hospital could be selected at random. So the patients in this hospital would be interviewed in a cluster. Okay. So, ano yung cluster mo kung saan sila nakatira? Halimbawa, mga taga District 1, i-interview mo. Then another cluster yun, District 2. I-interview mo, another cluster yun. Okay? This is just the 4 basic methods of sampling. And here, so statistical methods are driven by data. So we typically obtain data from 2 distinct sources. Excuse me. We have the observational studies and experiments. Okay. Ano pinagkaiba nito, class? In an observational study, we all know that we observe, we measure the specific characteristics, but we don't attempt to modify the subjects being studied. So the researcher merely observe what is happening or what has happened in the past and tries to draw conclusion based on this observation. So observational study yun, class, ha? Observational studies. From the word itself, observation. While in an experiment, likely, so this is engineering sometimes do. So we apply some treatment and then proceed to observe its effects on the subject. So subjects in experiments are called experimental units. The researcher manipulates one of the variables and tries to determine how the manipulation influences other variables. So what's the basic example here is one basic example of this variable. Halimbawa, class, di ba sa mechanical engineering tayo? So, if we design a turbine, so, i-manipulate ko yung blade design niya. Bakit hindi natin gawin na helical, like a helical spring yung design natin? So, binanipulate ko na yun yung isang variable wherein it will affect now the power generated, excuse me, the power generated of that turbine, which uses the helical spring blade design. Okay? So, manipulate natin yan. So, experiment yan. So, observational class. Kung ano lang talaga, we measure what is the specific characteristics of that given thing. Okay? So, we have now sometimes when random assignment is not possible, researchers use intact groups. So, when these groups are used, the study is said to be quasi or quasi-experimental study. So, we have the statistical study. We usually use or include one more independent variables and one dependent variable. So, alam naman natin that the independent variable in an experimental study is one that is being manipulated by the researcher. In an experimental study, independent variable. The independent variable is also called the explanatory variable, while the resultant variable, ito na class yung dependent variable natin and the outcome variable. Okay, so we have this, the outcome variable. Okay, in the sample sit-up study, there were 2 groups. So, balikan ko lang yung kanina. We have the independent variable, the explanatory variables, the dependent variable, or the resultant variable. Okay? So, here in a sample setup study, there were 2 groups. So, we have the so-called treatment group and the control group. Yung treatment group natin class receive a specific treatment, in this case, instructions for improvement, while the control group does not. Okay? So here, the uses and misuses of statistics. We all know that may maganda, may pros and cons naman yung statistics at some point. Okay? So, halimbawa, suspect sample. So, when the results are interpreted from studies using small samples, convenience samples, or volunteer samples, care should be used in generalizing the result to the entire population. Halimbawa, pa-survey ka. ang kinuha mo lang is doon sa isang area, but kinuha mo lang sa Legazpi City, Albay, but generalize things, wherein Philippines na yung sinabi mo. So, that is one of the misuses of statistics. Entire population na. Ito naman, the ambiguous averages. So, kadalasan sinosolve sa mga surveys, the mean, median, mode, and the mid-range. For the sample data set, these averages can differ. So, mag-iiba talaga siya, class. So, people who know this can, without lying, select the one measure of the average that lends the most evidence to support their position. So, pag ginagamit mo din to, class, the mean, median, mode, kadalasan, hindi mo talaga nakukuha kung ano yung pulso ng population mo yung sample. Also, we have changing the subject. So, another type of statistical distortion can occur when different values are used to represent the same data. Ito, detached statistics. Wherein a claim that uses a detached statistics is one in which no comparison is made. Halimbawa, our brand crackers has 1/3 fewer calories. So, no comparison is made, but 1/3 fewer calories than what? Siyempre, another example. So, marketing din to, class. So, marketing din to, class, ng mga brands. So, ginagamitan nila ng detached statistics. Another claim is that brand A aspirin works 4 times faster. Diba? Sino mag-aakala na si brand A mas nag-work daw 4 times faster. So, 4 times faster than what? Okay? When you see this statement such as this, always ask yourself, compared to what? Okay? So, we have the detached statistics. Okay? Also, we have the implied connections. So, many claims attempt to imply connection between variables that may not actually exist. For example, eating fish may help to reduce your cholesterol. So notice the words may help, but there is no guarantee that eating fish will definitely help you reduce your cholesterol. So, yan. So, meron din na misconception. So, implied connections. Ito talaga, class, lalo sa Facebook. Misleading graphs. Diba? Kahit nga sa Twitter, may nakita ako dito, class, yung grabe, yung hindi ba? Isa yung nakalimutan ko kung Philippine Daily Inquirer yun or doon sa Twitter, nakita ko, mali yung pagkagawa ng graph. They computed all. So, natuwa lang ako ng class. So, the statistical graphs gives a visual representation of data that enables viewers to analyze and interpret data more easily than by simply looking at the numbers. So, mali yun class sa Twitter na nakita ko. Actually, yung sinama yung survey ni Manny Pacquiao doon, wala naman siya doon, something sort of. So, that is the misleading graphs. So, madaming misinformation makukuha mo sa Twitter, sa Facebook man yan. Okay? So, be vigilant class. So, dapat alamin nyo kung tama yun or mali. Okay? Excuse me. So, we have also the faulty survey questions. Okay. When analyzing the results of the survey questionnaires, okay, the survey, you should be sure that the questions are properly written. Okay? So, minsan, mali din kasi yung mga survey questions natin. Okay. Thank you. Okay. But before that, I would like to share to you, class, that in what do you call this? In our subject statistics, we can always use, ayan, naingay na sa bahay, may mga bata na. Okay, so, we can use this, share ko lang muna to, class, the statistical tool we're in. This is, i-share ko lang para may, this is just to check your answers. This class, nakikita niyo to. This one. Ayan. This is a RStudio. So, this is yung last time class, yung kaya ako hindi nakapasok. So, I attended this software statistical tool. This is just to check your answer. Okay. So, madami to class. Hindi ko magtuturo ako, pero last part na ng subject. If we have more time, because of due to suspension. So, if you want to study here, the RStudio ang tawag nito class. So, this is a free software. Okay. So, na-check dito class yung answers mo about sa statistics. So, syempre, hindi ko muna ituturo. Kasi, I will teach you on how to manually compute, okay, the solution in statistics. Okay? So, pinapakita ko lang to. So, this is the software. So, akala mo ganyan lang. Pero, magta-type ka yun, class. Madami dyan ta-type mo like that. Okay? This is a programming software program in data analysis. Okay? So, we can use also the Excel. You can use that class. Diba? So, madaming platforms that you can use statistics. But, sana mas alam niyo pa rin yung manually. And how do we compute a certain subject. Okay? Okay, that is RStudio. Excuse me. Okay. My question ba, class? My questions ba, class? May questions ba kayo, class? Today?
Wala naman po, ma'am.
Okay, wala naman class kasi this is more on just a simple introduction about engineering data analysis. Okay. So, tomorrow class, for those people who are enrolled in thermodynamics 2, we will have a meeting tomorrow. I will send the link later. Okay. Also merge para isa steam table. Okay. Okay, can I request everyone to... Ayan, yan, naka-open